Welcome to today's episode of the Eternal Truths channel, a channel designed to help all of us release limiting beliefs and awaken to our true selves. This channel is about my realizations about what I've learned that have helped me to just awaken to my true self, to expand, to experience inner happiness, which is what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about how can we experience true happiness, how we can be happy no matter what life is throwing at us, no matter what is happening, how we can be happy in that moment. Is that even possible? Or even how we can be more happy than we usually are. So for me, when I first stumbled upon this idea of inner happiness, of unconditional happiness, I did not know what to think of it because it was not my experience. Like for what I was aware, pretty much from what I noticed, my happiness, my level of fulfillment was dependent on how my life was going during that specific time of my life. And it was based on what I felt were good things that happened to me, or when I achieved some success, or just having many friends, right, that I can be around and having that feeling of being wanted, of being loved, right? So I realize now some of that may have been my motivation, which in a way, I mean, it's fine. That's where I was. It was my motivation. However, I realized that the happiness, the fulfillment, it was kind of dependent on that motivation. So it was kind of like a conditional happiness where if this and this and this and this happens, then you feel good. Then you feel happy with who you are, with yourself, with life, just in general, and the happiness is there. And because the happiness is there, also the logic is there, like how we can be happy. Like if you look back perhaps at your life, if we all look back, I'm sure there is times where we felt very happy during those times and we don't know why, However, whenever we're looking at other people, life outside, we just feel happy, we just feel fulfilled, or we could know why. It could be very good reasons why we're happy, and it's fine, they're both connected. However, many times what happens is that we go through certain situations in life, and during the situations, a choice gets made of, and this could be something which we may not be aware of the choice when it happened, of in a way choosing to have that perception about life in that moment. And rather than finding that inner happiness, having a different experience of that moment, of that life. So anyway, so that's what I realized. It was dependent on that, and right now these things, whatever I'm sharing now, is something I realized later, more about the inner happiness and how the inner happiness can extend in a way, can kind of become the foundation of experiencing life to the point where other situations that interact with it, that interface with it, it's when we're happy, we're like, okay, it is what it is. It could be good news, it could be bad news, things cannot go well, but hey, I'm fine, I'm content with life, I'm happy with life in general, with everything I have, I'm grateful, and no matter what this obstacle is, I'm confident I will overcome it. Having that kind of perspective, happiness can give that perspective, So anyway, so in me, I noticed it's related to the situations, and then when the situations improved, then more happiness was there. However, the limit of experiencing happiness, how much happy I felt, was based on these conditions. So even the extent I could experience happiness was based on that. And then I stumbled upon this book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And this book was first gifted to me by a good friend of mine, my best friend back in high school, in Albania. And yeah, we know each other since childhood, and he recommended this book to me, The Power of Now. And anyway, so I read it at the time, and it was something very fascinating idea. I looked at it, I'm like reading at it, and Eckhart Tolle was talking about how, like, during the moments where we fully enjoy life, we're in the moment, we're present, we're there. And it may not have to be this overwhelming experience of happiness. However, we're present, we're there with life, whatever it requires, whatever happens in that moment. However, the content is there, because usually non-happiness would be the lack of happiness, so having some sort of limiting beliefs which cause that subjective experience of reality, of subjectively feeling happiness may not be there. Something is lacking, the perception based on duality. So these are some of the things, I realized. So anyway, however, I was reading the book, Eckhart Tolle's book, and he was talking about this possibility, how in the moment you can be present, and psychologists describe this as the flow, being in the zone, a state of high performance, where pretty much like I don't know if this is the way how they define it, but it's kind of like a highest intelligence takes over, even in the case of the body, and pretty much like what needs to be done is done, even the body or the person, how they express, right? So that's the flow, that's the zone. It's the expression of the creative expression, that can happen in somebody. So anyway, so that's what it means to be in the present moment. Like anything you enjoy, it could be any experience of life. Some people like to do extreme sports, like to do like a bungee jumping or a skydiving or even skiing, or even driving fast in a car or a jet ski. And I mean, maybe not as often, many people do it. However, when I, for example, experience that, like the roller coasters, like I love the rush, the adrenaline rush, it feels so good in that moment. Like when that experience is happening, it's so overwhelming, the feeling, the emotion, the whole experience, that I'm not thinking. I'm present, I'm there with the experience. The chatter which may be there, usually in my mind as thoughts, throughout the day, it is not there in that moment, so present. So anyway, so I just wanted to share how Eckhart Tolle was explaining it. However, although interesting it may sound and sounds great, and to you it may make sense, to me in the moment, I thought, yes, it makes sense. It sounds great. I would like to experience this, but it sounds like too good to be true. I don't know. I was kind of doubtful at first, but then I said, you know what? Like, I have to discover it. Like, the only way I'll know is if I just dedicate to finding out the truth about this. If it's true, then finding out is true. If it's not true, finding out is not true. I want to make sure, because if it's true, it has so much, it's such a big news, for my life. Like where I was at the time, I was thinking, how it can be true that when the situations in my life are not going well, I could be happy? No, I don't think so. Because I did not have that experience before. So yeah, it was easy for me to believe it was not possible. But I was just open to that. I said, you know what, let me discover what is possible. And I read this book, Eckhart Tolle's book, continuously. That was back in high school, where I was back in my home country, back in the fourth year of high school, this was. And anyway, and then I read a little bit of the book, and then I picked up the book in college, second year of college. So what's interesting is that this time I picked it up again, I was reading it. However, until this time, I understand, kind of like my mind made sense of the book, but what Eckhart Tolle is trying to describe through the words, which is an experience, I did not have that. I tried, but like I tried like as much as I could. It did not happen yet. And then again, I persisted. I picked up the book, and I was doing it again. And there was a time, something happened, some event happened, and I had the inner happiness experience. You know, it's like during that time, you know, I was doing some exercises about becoming aware of my thoughts, what Eckhart Tolle recommends about being present, being the observer of the thoughts. So that is what I was doing, what I was practicing, and I was being open-minded to the ideas shared. Like that's the main thing. And yeah, as I was doing it, I was doing it with an open-minded of being open to it being possible, experiencing that, like that. I had the experience, and I remember one day I was coming back actually into my apartment, who, you know, I shared with a friend of mine. You know, we're living there, and that apartment. As I'm going back into the apartment, up the stairs, I remember I had a discussion with a friend of mine. I'd talked about him, and we discussed something about the similar topic, about the thoughts, about awareness. Anyway, but there were still things which I was caught up into the argument of things with my friend, and those thoughts were coming up there. Like it kept coming and coming and coming. And I just for that moment, before going up the stairs, I catch myself, I'm like, oh, look at that thought. And then I became observant of it, of observing the thought. And it's almost like I stepped out of like above the thought, is almost how it felt, if I had to describe it. However, I did not think about it. You know, I was kind of in this space where when I go into the apartment, what I remember is like everything felt different. Like it felt like, in a way, it was not the same apartment. Of course it's the same apartment. However, the way how I felt about the apartment was different. You know, how the perception of everything there, you know, wow, it's so beautiful, you know, the perception, and I was like very present, and almost like life was brighter in a way, and I was so in the moment, and everything that I was expressing was coming from the moment, like naturally, automatically, like naturally, like this is the moment. This is what is bringing up. And I remember I was so happy and so fulfilled, and that fulfillment, that happiness, like I would look in, and it felt like it kept expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. And I did not understand why. I could not understand in the moment, like what is happening to me. Like I would look in that moment into my life situations, and I would think, I did not get some good news or amazing grades, you know, or a date, you know, or a party, or I'm just throwing examples out there, whatever I would feel that this is the great for me, you know, great thing for me. Situations were the same. Actually, I was in final week, you know, I had exams to study for, and some very difficult exams, you know. However, you know, during that moment, I was so happy, so fulfilled like never before, and nothing had changed in my life situations. So it was kind of peculiar to me. And then I was going and I was experiencing doing different things in my room. And what started happening is the activities which would normally be considered, would feel mundane, you know, boring. Like, for example, what I felt boring at the time, or something which usually I would kind of postpone, you know, something I wasn't used to doing when I was back home in my country. Like when I moved in the US for my university, then I had to do my own laundry. I had to wash my own clothes and then fold the clothes, you know, and then and then the dishes and the house chores, those different things. I wasn't used to doing them. And when I was having this experience, like I remember, like I looked at some clothes which needed to be folded, so I go there and I'm like folding the clothes, and I'm enjoying this process so much. I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm looking at the clothes, touching at the clothes, you know, it just feels like a good experience. And then I'm like, I pretty much folded all the clothes, and it was so much fun. Like I never had so much fun, you know, like folding clothes in a way. So that's what I experienced. And then listening to music, you know, music sounded better, and I was like present, you know, in the moment. So I had a great experience. However, the key takeaway was that the inner happiness is what I realized in those moments, in that experience. It was expressing from outside of me, and it was, in a way, reflecting into my life. You know, even like my friends that were there, for instance, like how I was feeling was in a way so intense and infatuating in a way, that feeling of so much fulfillment and enjoyment and happiness, and I'm trying to describe it, but for each one of us is different. That's what it is. So that feeling, it was so much that I was like having so much fun and being spontaneous, and all of a sudden, you know, even I was joking with my friends when I interacted with my friends, and so many jokes, you know, was coming up, like everything, even the talking, it was like effortless, you know, and that's when I realized this is what the true self-expression is. Inner happiness. Determining what is my inner experience, and then external situation being independent of my inner experience. In a way, the inner experience influencing the external situation, and also being independent. External experiences, external situations could be some situations which are non-desirable, which we don't like, but it is what it is. Could not mix our expectations. It is what it is. How can we, in other words, still experience, you know, have moments, have windows, have times where our existence, you know, we experience the true happiness, the true self, where during those moments we are truly happy, and it's an inner happiness, and no matter what, it continues to grow and expand into more areas of our life. See, the one challenge with the conditional happiness is that it's only based on those circumstances. So then life has to change for the happiness to be there. But what happens is that even after life changes, again, the perception of the life circumstances continues to remain, so that happiness is only reserved for specific situations. It's like this belief in a way that we can only be happy during those specific times, and this can be in a way not aware, it can be unconscious, we may not be aware of it, you know, but on many levels, you know, it's this subconscious beliefs, those beliefs which at some point we may have decided and may not be aware of it, that is affecting our life. So if we believe that happiness can only happen during specific circumstances, only if this and this and this and that is true, then I'm happy. And we may not even be aware of it, that we're having these conditions. However, what we know is that whenever life happens this way, we're happy. Whenever life doesn't happen this way, we're not. And life will happen on default. Like a default life will happen. Happiness, it will go like this, ups and downs, ups and downs. Not just happiness, life experience. So, that being said, the purpose of this channel is to release limiting beliefs that are preventing us to experience true happiness, to experience unconditional happiness, to experience the greatest potential in ourselves, to be more effective, to be more productive, to be present, to be able to give our all, to access the best version of ourselves whenever life requires it, with whatever we're engaging. So that the true self is how I am referring to that part of myself. So the purpose of this channel is to awaken the true self, and part of awakening is also to release limiting beliefs. And this is also what has been part of my journey and what these recordings will be about. It will be about recognizing limiting beliefs in ourselves, in others, and then realizing we have a choice. This is the limiting belief. This is another belief that possibly we can have, that can be beneficial. And this is how life would be without the limiting beliefs. This is actually, you know, the key ingredient, because if the limiting belief is gone, the true self will express. And that is what my experience has been, and many others. the limiting beliefs, by being aware of what those are, we can make a strong intention to work on letting them go, to work on having an empowering belief which comes through our true self, through the highest intelligent part of us, through the aware self, through the awareness part of us. So that higher perspective, it can come and it can change the whole perception of the situation, and it can make us experience that situation as happy, as fulfilled, as feeling confident, as feeling grateful, as feeling like life and others like are so loving to us, whatever that experience is. So stay tuned, because I'll be sharing more on what are some of the limiting beliefs that I have experienced, I have noticed, and I have been able to let them go, to release them, and experience those situations, those parts of my life through the true self, the inner happiness version of me, the version of me that is fulfilled, that is conscious and aware, and deciding what is the best for my life. So I'll be sharing those things, and I'll be sharing more on how the true self can awaken. On the next part, I'll be sharing more specifics on this. For now, thank you for listening, and if you haven't done it already, subscribe for this channel. If you're new, like. If there is anything at all that you enjoyed or you resonate with, like it, because it's going to help the algorithm, it's going to help this channel be discovered, and it's going to help these sharings, these teachings, become more available with whoever may need to hear it for their own life to be transformed. Goodbye, until next time.